Used to be hot-headed like I got a fever. Life a bitch, watch how you treat
All right. Here we are tonight. First episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. I'm going to drop that intro real quick.
And what kind of player am I? Am I an offensive man or a defensive man? That's right, I'm neither. I play my opponent. If he likes to attack, I force him to defend himself. If he's a cautious man, I draw him into dangerous waters. See, you get so frustrated playing defensive positions, you make stupid moves you never make if you were thinking. When you come here, boy, check that shit at the door.
I'm at the top of my game, cut the check. Somebody better king me, I'm the best. Let's play a game of checkers. Better yet, the game don't love nobody. Let's play chess. I keep forgetting when I'm in love anymore. I keep forgetting.
All right. Here we go. Got the third episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. Here we go. We have the young queen, Olivia Rondeau, on.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Love your hair.
Thank you.
So, how you doing this week so far?
I'm good. I actually just got home from school yesterday, so I'm back home for Thanksgiving, so I'm excited.
How was finals?
That hasn't happened yet. Finals is after we get back.
Oh, you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
You're lucky. At least there's no stress right before the holiday. Unfortunately, you're going to have to deal it right before Christmas. So,
yeah, I'll deal with it.
What you studying?
I'm a political science major.
Okay. All right. So, what do you think of the development so far over the weekend and this morning?
What are you talking about specifically?
So, apparently, there's some bullshit going on in Wisconsin right now. It looks like some more votes just came into question.
Okay.
Didn't look like they had any evidence before, but it looks like something new just happened. And I was just watching the hearing for Pennsylvania. So that's looking interesting. The affidavits seem to have a little bit more to them than I thought they did starting out.
Okay. I haven't really paid attention to many other states besides Pennsylvania just because that's where I was and that's where I had like the most involvement in, obviously. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised of people shocked because I think even a lot of Republicans were like, okay, there's nothing going to be coming out of this. You know, we should just concede. And I'm like not the type of person that's like, yeah, Trump 2024, you know, he's never going to leave the White House, like whatever. But I do think there's a lot of funny business going on, so we're going to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I honestly, looking at everything that's going on right now, I didn't think that I thought there was fraud. I mean, there's always fraud in the elections. There's always something going on. It's just up until recently, the elections usually are not close enough that it's even worth it to contest it. So it's not an issue of it not being there. It's the issue of it not being close enough to waste the time on it. And it not being enough scale to actually turn out any tangible difference. But this is starting to look a little bit more serious than I thought it was, mostly because it was so close.
I mean, in Pennsylvania alone, that was insane. And I understand the point where people are saying, well, it makes sense for, 90% of the mail-in ballots to be Democrat because Trump basically told everyone, vote in person, we can't trust the mail-in ballots. I understand that. Being on the ground in Pennsylvania, I was confident it was going to be red. Near the end of working on those campaigns in PA, I was confident it was going to be red. And as the votes were coming in, it was red. And then the mail-in ballots came, and then it was overwhelmingly blue. So there's something going on there.
I thought 90%. I was like, nah, I don't know. 90% that's a ridiculous amount. One way or the other. That seems almost improbable that it would be 90% for one or the other.
Right.
I mean, it is what it is. I can't be pissed at it. To be honest, I don't think they have enough time to actually make their case and get anything overturned or change the outcome. So I'm sort of already ready to say President Biden and VP Kamala Harris.
God. I don't know. Are Trump
I'm not
supporters going to be like
excited
the
about
new?
that.
Are they going to be like the new resistors? Like hashtag not my president, but for Biden.
I don't think so. I'm already seeing it right now online. Sonny Johnson and Felicia Killings have been just shredding people this week.
Yeah, but they're the
Seeing
outliers. They're not the
no, I
typical
mean
like MAGA boomer.
no, I mean the MAGA boomers that are always so they're screaming it from the rooftops how much they love Trump, are all of a sudden like, why am I even going to vote? It's all over. We're screwed. All of a sudden,
Oh,
it's
really?
nobody. Yeah, all of a sudden, it's nobody loves Eeyore. It's either one or the other. It's like way far out there. Trust the plan. Savior Trump is going to save us from
Yeah, like
everything.
4D underwater space, like underwater gravity in space. Like they're all
Yeah.
like, he has a plan. There's a fucking master plan. There's not a fucking master plan. Like Q is
No.
not gonna save you. We're just people. He's just a person. He's not God. So chill out. I hate that Q shit, by the way. I hate that.
I really do too. I didn't even understand it. Like people, I even got accused of being some damn QAnon, whatever the hell shit it is. I was like, what the hell is a QAnon? I'm
I
like,
get accused of being
I-
like Russian,
I'm like,
a QAnon
Yeah.
bot, like all this kind of stuff. Like I don't even believe in that crap. I don't think that Trump is our Lord and Savior. He is a
Yeah.
very flawed man. Like there's tons of things to criticize him on. So I'm not. I don't know why people.
I
think I'm such a
hate
loyalist.
fanboy politics. I really do.
No.
Fanboy politics. I hated it when, like, I hated it during Clinton. I hated
Right.
it during Clinton. Everybody worshipped the ground he walked on, and I saw it during Bush, and because conservatives are reactionary as always, they all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, Bush, this great cowboy from Texas is going to save us from all the brown people in the Middle East, and I was like, and I served in Iraq, and I was like,
Okay.
well, I kind of don't understand why we're here. Like, I get why you say we're here, but then again, if what you're saying is true, we should have been here probably like a decade ago.
That's what I was trying to say with the whole Crenshaw thing. No one's trying to listen to me. No one's trying to listen to Olivia. That's fine. They're like, you're young. You don't understand. You're 19 years old. He gave his life. I'm like, first, someone really said he gave his life. I'm like, he's still alive, sir. He's still alive. But, like, that's what I was trying to say. I was like, why are we in Iraq and Afghanistan if it was the Saudis that did 9/11? If, like, what are you talking about? What does that even mean? They, like,
Like, I remember it being somewhere, because I remember watching the Twin Towers fall, and I remember sitting in class, and I was like, yo, you guys messed up. You turned on a movie. This is not the news. This is obviously like a Die Hard or something. And then all of a sudden they were like, no, this is legitimately the news. The Twin Towers just fell. And I'm like, okay, so I guess we're going to war.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the writing was on the wall, but then when they were like, yeah, we're going to Iraq because they have weapons of mass destruction, I'm like, Iraq's been fucking around with chemical and biological agents for decades. And then randomly, you saw, like, for the first time that I can remember, I saw the media play, the word play, where they went weapons of mass destruction, and then they went, whoa, we meant nuclear weapons. I'm like, well, there's chemical and biological and nuclear. As a matter of fact, that's an entire MOS in the Marines. So I'm like, that's an entire separate job specialty is chemical, biological, and nuclear. So, and nerve agents and stuff. So I'm like, how did we just stop caring about WMDs because it's not the big bomb? Because last time I checked, our anti-terrorism spreadsheets and shit said they're more worried about biological and chemical agents because they can spread before you know that they're even there, and they can go undetected. But either way, we ended up going overseas, and I saw some good stuff over there, and I saw some bad stuff over there. But after 20 years of being in Afghanistan, and we have an entire generation of people that are going over there right now that weren't even alive to see it.
Exactly.
To see the towers fall. I don't get it.
I have no recollection of that shit. Like, no offense. I understand the whole never forget thing. I just don't remember it. I was 8 months old. Like, There is no reason that people in my generation should be over there dying, getting their legs blown off for this shit when it's like we haven't been told the whole story at all.
Yeah, it's like, I noticed when you look at the news, for anyone that's been over there and interacted with the people over there, it's a completely different situation. We actually played soccer with some of the people over there. I mean, we had an interpreter that we absolutely loved and played poker with and worked out with and stuff like that. It's a completely different dynamic. These people don't want war, and don't want shit going on over there. There's no point in us being there anymore. We're not there serving what we're there to do in the first place. Why are we building up a nation? Like, we don't even fight wars to win anymore. We fight them for political reasons. It's asinine to me that we'd be over in another country and we're like, yeah, you bombed us. Now we're going to rebuild your whole country. We'll give you schools and shopping malls. You guys will love shopping malls. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I got even Crenshaw's response. It was a lady wrote in his post about not ending the war and not pulling troops out of Afghanistan. She was like, "What does the regime change war like? What is this accomplishing?" And he says, "Stopping another 9/11, having girls go to school. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with anything? Yeah. I'm sorry. Like, I understand feminism and the third world and shit. What the fuck does that have to do with us, first of all? And what the fuck does Iraq and Afghanistan have to do with stopping another 9/11? They didn't do 9/11. What are you talking about? And just as you said, your experience over there, these kids are not they're not born terrorists. They're not born hating Americans. It's inflammatory for us to be there in the first place. Yeah, it's inflammatory for us to be there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. We end up, I mean, we've been there to the point where, just like we're sitting over people that weren't even alive for us to initially go over there, we're sitting over there, they have an entire generation that have grown up with us being over there. They don't like us at this point. Like, it was, all right, cool, you rid us of a dictator. And then there was like that initial backlash of the power vacuum, and then there were the people that should have been put in charge but didn't get put in charge, and we tried to install a democracy in an area whose entire culture is antithetical to democracy, and you have the tribes and that the entire cultural dynamic that we don't face here in the United States. And then you get to now where we have like that was a decade ago. All those crazy dynamics, and we could have figured that out then. Now we're a decade later, and it's like, and we're still there. And then you get Crenshaw, who I initially liked. I'm like, all right, shit.
Everybody did. Everybody fucking loved him. I fucking loved him.
He's a likable guy. He's got that self-deprecating humor that, like, I know you're not a big fan of Reagan, but yeah, Reagan used to make fun of himself.
Yeah, but he's
Donald Trump makes fun
dude.
of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that quality, that it quality, that when he steps in front of a mic, you know somebody's standing up there. And then, I mean, of course, everybody romanticizes military service, and I'm not going to bash military service.
When they see the eye patch, that's like seeing the puppies in the Humane Society commercial. They just want to yes, yeah. Like, you don't even know what this is about. Like, and I even said in my video, I was like, I respect him for giving up his vision, like giving up a physical part of his body for something that he thought was the right thing to do. But I don't respect him if you want to send 18-year-old kids out there to do the same thing. I don't. Yeah. Like, go back out there if you want to fight that war.
Like, to be honest, I'll admit, he says his favorite Marvel character is Captain America. I take issue with that because I think the Punisher is way better, and he sounds like a libertarian boss. On the other hand, yeah, he sounds like he's like totally anti-statist. Friggin', I absolutely love it. And you get Captain America is like Soldier Boy. However, Dan Crenshaw, I'm gonna deduct points for your Captain America bullshit. Although the Captain America eyeball is pretty freaking cool. I gotta say, that's taken fandom to a whole nother level.
It is. But would the Punisher support red flag laws? Absolutely not.
No, that's the other issue. My cousin lives in Texas. He lives in Houston, and he takes issue with. He's a veteran as well. He is an Army Ranger, and like my whole family serves, and I'm like, wait a minute. If there was a single issue that I would have a problem with, it's Second Amendment, because after all the other issues fail, I still got my guns. If you come to take my guns, then we got a problem. So him supporting red flag laws, that broke my heart. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're supposed to be a warrior.
That broke my heart. And his generals, like, Israel first mentality, and I get a lot of flack for this. People call me anti-Semite all the time. I'm not a fucking anti-Semite. What the fuck? Like, I literally just don't care and don't think we should be involved there. That is my official stance on Israel. So when he's saying things like, oh, people use the First Amendment to cloak their anti-Semitism, no, people use the First Amendment to say what they want to say. It's not cloaking anything. You can say whatever you want to say. If someone says something anti-Semitic, that has nothing to do with the First Amendment. Like, that's not a failure or a fault of the First Amendment.
Hey, I support somebody's right to call me the N-word.
Right. You can literally be racist.
I don't have to like it. I don't have to like what you got to say. It's just the fact that you got the right to say it. And I don't want to ban your right to say it, because as soon as I ban your right to say it, you're going to I'm next on the chopping block. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think criticizing the foreign policy of Israel is anti-Semitic. Personally, I'm a supporter of Israel. I'm a Christian dude. That's kind of like, that's the Holy Land. It's a personal thing. But at the same time, and I understand their dynamic of sort of being surrounded by people that absolutely despise you. I'm like, I get that. I understand it. But I don't think that criticizing their actions independently of the fact that they're Jewish makes you anti-Semitic. I think that's an asinine stance to take. So the fact that you would equate the two is insane.
Yeah, I don't know if you watched the clip where in the town hall, they never mentioned the fact that they never said the word Jew, Jewish, Judaism. They said we should be allowed to criticize the state of Israel. In Florida, Ron DeSantis is working on making that shit illegal. I literally hate how every libertarian, every Republican is like, oh my God, Governor Kristi Noem, South Dakota, running in 2024. Bro, she did the same shit in South Dakota. She literally banned companies who do business with other companies from being in a government contract if those companies that do business with that company does BDS. So that is completely insane to me.
Yeah. I don't get the idea of anti-Israel is anti-American.
And you could make the argument that BDS is or is not inherently anti-Semitic. I honestly don't think it is, because I think there are plenty of reasons why you would not want to do business with Israel besides just the fact that the majority of people are Jewish. I think there's a lot of other reasons. However, even if it is inherently anti-Semitic,
everything you ship in there has to fly over an enemy state. I mean, just for the sheer cost of having to ship into an area where it might get blown. I mean, your shipment might get blown up by the Palestinians or the Iranians or anybody that happens to have a beef with Israel that day. I wouldn't do business there just because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah. What if you just don't agree with the state of Israel? And there's a lot of civil rights issues that go on in Israel. And I know people are like, oh, that's a myth. But I like to do my own research. And I've researched how, Israelis tend to treat the Ethiopian people that settled there and things of that nature. So it's there's a ton of other reasons to not necessarily support that state. Just like any other country. I don't 100% support the United States government. I actually hate them. So does that make me racist against Americans? No, that just means I'm critical of their government.
Which brings me to a point. You can criticize the government, you can have issues with people in government and the actions of government and institutions while still loving the country and loving the people. It's not an absolute one way or another. The idea that we even discuss it as absolutes is you have to I don't know if you've ever seen the meme. It's something that Marines do. We like to wear really, really short shorts, particularly silkies, and we go running around with American flag short shorts on, carrying American flags and all gung ho with our sleeves cut off, and it's pretty fucking America. But yeah, you don't have to be like you don't have to not be like that just because you have issues with how the government acts. One does not equate to the other. Now, I do want to know, how did you come to your political journey? Because I see you online making ridiculously intelligent arguments. I saw you at the Solutionary Summit. I didn't get to speak to you because y'all were having a girls' moment, and
we weren't doing it. We literally weren't doing anything.
Hey, you know what? I saw empty drinks on the table, and I know y'all weren't drinking, but I assumed that y'all were drinking because y'all were rolling. Y'all are rolling.
Oh my
I talked to Coach Felicia, and I talked to Kimberly Klasick and Angela Stanton King, and I was chilling. I was like, I want to go over there and say like, hey, I'm impressed with y'all's work, but y'all were having a good time, and I'm like, man, I don't want to break up a party. That I would feel so bad about that.
No, Sharice is a good Christian girl. She doesn't drink, and I just didn't get the chance to, so I wasn't drinking. I didn't have a drink the whole time. I was very disappointed.
I know Sharice chewed me out online for even ensuing that
she is very serious about her convictions. I will give her that. But
that's good. That's good.
Yeah. To answer your question though, it's been a very complex journey, and I would say it's kind of a wild ride. And that's not to say I'm super impressionable. I know every young person has some radical worldview. They're some type of communist, neo-fascist, anarchist, all these different kinds of beliefs, and they change very frequently. I feel like my change has been a very natural progression. As a younger kid, I was very impressionable. So middle school age, I was just believing everything I saw on the internet. So the million different pronouns, the free healthcare, free college, that sounded very appealing to me when I was 13. I quickly grew out of that. In high school, then the 2016 election rolled around. I was in my sophomore year, I think. I'm starting to do research on the election. At first, I was I was still in that phase, the Republicans are racist, Donald Trump's a white supremacist, he's a Nazi, all that kind of stuff. I came out of that by, talking to my dad mainly, who's a Trump voter and black. So I was like, how could you support this guy who's racist? And, we had arguments about that. And at the time I was on the men's wrestling team at my high school, and this was a very conservative, kind of hick school, for lack of a better term. And, majority of my male friends were Trump supporters. So we would have these political discussions, and I would kind of, find my opinions through that. So for a while, I was your average, MAGA black, the Blue Lives Matter, there's no such thing as white privilege, blah, 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 blah. I did that for probably almost a year. And a lot of people have that progression because it's they see the two-party duopoly and don't really think beyond that. There's Democrat, Republican, and you have to have all the Republican views to be a Republican, or you have to have all the Democrat views to be a Democrat. There's no centrism, there's no libertarianism, and don't even think about talking about the Green Party or anything crazy like that. So that was my mindset from I would say ages 16 to 17. And then I don't know, I guess I just got out into the real world more and realized, hey, people we shouldn't have to pay taxes for a property that we own, because if you own it, paying taxes is just leasing it out by things just started clicking in my head, and it's hard to explain, but I did find people to look up to. I followed Sonny Johnson for a long time. I followed Felicia Killings for a long time. Wayne Dupree, I followed him for a long time. A lot of great black conservative leaders that kind of posted and put videos out and took me under their wing, that led me into, I want to say, the right direction, because I do have a lot of different opinions than Felicia, Wayne, Sonny. I'm not a carbon copy of them, but definitely led me into my direction to becoming like an individual as opposed to someone who's just part of some movement. Like someone that's part of like the Blexit movement, the walkaway movement, and all these movements have their own place and their own time and their own right. That's not to like diss anybody, but there's there are lions and there's sheep. There's people that follow whoever is popular at the moment. And there's people who actually come up with their own opinions. So
I'm like you. I actually remember your first interview with Sonny Johnson.
oh god, that's like a year ago.
I've listened to Sonny for years, mostly because I was out in California and I've grown up in a family in a conservative family. Both my parents are like major historians. They're huge nerds when it comes to history, and my dad studies history and law for fun, and I gotta say it must be genetic because I do the same thing. And I ran into Sonny Johnson after originally thinking that the Blexit movement might actually have some value to it. I ended up changing my opinion mostly because I didn't see it actually progressing towards anywhere. Not because the energy wasn't there, because I thought the most valuable thing. And then I finally went to a Blexit movement, which was this last one at the White House.
Okay.
And I didn't see much salvageable there. As a matter of fact, I met a whole bunch of people who were new, and that was their first Blexit event, and they said they were never coming back for the exact same.
What was the reason for that?
They were expecting to get something of deeper substance at the actual movement, and what they got were the same talking points that they would get at any other event. And they were like, I was expecting to get something that I could like basically take back to my community and convince people, and like reasons why the Republican Party is better and stuff like that. But that's not what they got. They got reasons why to leave the Democrats, but they didn't get reasons why Republicans were any better. Like, personally, I consider myself a conservatarian. I'm very conservative, but as far as what the government should and shouldn't do, it should stay the hell out of my life as much as physically possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree, and I voluntarily want to help out my community, and I voluntarily want to make the government better, and I voluntarily want to help my brother. Like when I was out in California, I had a guy that got out of the Marine Corps, and he was going through a hard time, and he's lived with us for about a year before moving back up here to Boston. And he died last year in a car crash, but he finally got back on his feet, and he was doing well and stuff like that. And I think engaging in your community voluntarily is completely different from government forcing you to have to give a shit about your community. One, your outreach isn't going to be genuine. Two, you don't have a choice. Right. And I don't want somebody raiding my pockets to do anything for that matter. Like, do whatever the hell you want, as long as I don't got to fund it and you're not shoving it down my throat.
Mm-hmm.
As far as wars go, I think if we fight wars should be fought to win, not for political reasons, not to build up a country, or not to build up somebody's political resume. Mm-hmm. I think that's completely arbitrary and contradictory to what the country is founded upon. In general, I think Sonny Johnson's great, but like you, I'm a completely different person. Up until the chimpanzees comment, I saw value in Candace Owens, mostly the energy and the outreach, the platform that she had. I see Sonny Johnson as having a ton of clout within the community, and I see her as the bridge between the intellectual and the culture. I see Felicia Killings as bringing in a ministry, and I think that's a great thing, and I absolutely love that. I think Maj Toure bringing the guns into it. I love my guns. I'm like a gun junkie.
Yeah.
Bringing the Second Amendment to the black community after decades of us being told that we should stay the hell away from them, and that they're antithetical to being black. I'm right there with you. It was one of the reasons I gravitated towards you when Sunny had you on her show. I was like, this is somebody I gotta check out.
What
I'm
was
like,
the thing I
one,
said? What did I say that you were like, I have to like check her out?
shit, when I found out that you were just entering college. You were like
Yeah.
just entering college, and I was like, hold up. She's just entering college, and she's got. I mean, just the syntax you use when you speak is astounding for someone just walking into college. I thought that was insanely impressive. And then your outlook on the world, I was like, this is somebody that's already past that MAGA stage where you like just got red pilled.
Like, I found the red hat, worked for like a year, then I was like, I need to work on solutions. What am I doing?
Like, you made the transition faster than I think most people do. And honestly, I can't relate to people that got red pilled. I can't, because I see them as babies. I see them as intellectual babies because they're not there yet. They haven't finished that journey to where they actually know who they are and their ideology.
They know that Democrats are bad, right? And they know that quote-unquote rhinos are bad, aka everyone who's not Trump is a rhino. So they see an issue with the two-party duopoly. They like that Trump's an outsider, but they don't see kind of a long-term solution. You can't have Trump forever, and we need better options than Trump. So where do we look? That's where I start looking at like the LP and, you know, different independent movements. But, you know, the red pill stage is just, you know, still a card-carrying Republican and Trump 2024 and then Donald Trump Jr. 2028. Like, it's like a whole thing.
Oh, I am so not on board with that. I am definitely... I disdain all political dynasties.
It's awful. I don't know why... After the whole Bush thing, Bush, Clinton, like, just why? Why would we want that again?
I'm like, wait a minute. You like Donald Trump. You don't even know Donald Trump Jr.'s views, and even if you think you have an inkling, he's still a New York Republican, which last I checked is no different than a Romney Republican. And I'm like, and then I'm like, and I don't even like parties. That's like, I never identify myself as Republican. I think it's contradictory to actually solving an issue, because once you identify as a party, you start to make your entire ideology the party. Right. In which case, I think that's antithetical to conservetible. Because
and you have to sacrifice a lot of your ideals. You have to sacrifice a lot of your ideals being a party, because they expect you to agree with them 100% of the time, or you have to work with people and promote people that you don't not only do not agree with, but could be antithesis to your views. So like when I was working with like PAGOP, I was very careful to tell my boss. I was like, I know in the contract it actually said I had to be a Republican. I straight up told the contract to my boss, and I was like, I need to tell you, I am not a registered Republican. I probably will never be a registered Republican. You have to know this. If you want to fire me, that's fine. And he was like, well, as long as you, look at our candidates and, support our candidates this year, that's fine. And so I feel like that's how it should be. I don't have to be a Republican, but I should look on an individual basis and see who I would like to vote for and support. But a lot of people don't see that.
I think that's what's required. I mean, I think it's great that you were able to work on a libertarian campaign and a Republican campaign. I thought that was... I was like, wow.
They thought it was weird.
It's
they
hard
thought it was
enough
really
to get.
Weird. It was really awkward.
I mean, that's
because
a person seriously working towards legitimate change.
It was really awkward because the way I wound up with the libertarians in Pennsylvania was, so I've been working with the GOP for like a month now, and I'm like, I am so, not that I was tired of Republicans. I was just like, I need something different. I don't want to work with the Democrats, but I want to work with, expand my political portfolio a little bit. Who else is there to work with? So I Google, I'm searching around for Pennsylvania libertarians, Monroe County libertarians, which is where I was staying. And I find this Facebook page, and there's this guy running for mayor, libertarian 2021. So I DM him or message him on Facebook. I don't know the terms of Facebook. I'm not old, so I guess, you inbox someone on Facebook? Anyways, I inboxed him on Facebook. And I'm like, can I help your campaign? And he was like, yes, we basically have, like, nobody to help us. Like, please. And I told him to stop by my office in the GOP building to drop off a bunch of like libertarian literature because I'm stupid and I had no other place to meet him because it was like 8 o'clock at night. And he just comes into the office and he's like wearing like a Make America Free Again cap, Joe Jorgensen 2024 t-shirt, and he's like, I'm looking for Olivia. And my boss was like, God damn it, Olivia, like, not this time. But yeah, we had like this whole conversation about how I can help the Pennsylvania Libertarians, and I ended up taking a bunch of their literature and I was passing it out at the polling station with my Republican literature. So I was like, well, if you don't vote for one, please vote for the other one. Like, just don't vote Democrat.
Yeah. To be honest, I see libertarians. Now, I want to interview Maj Toure and Larry Sharp and was it Hotep Nebuchadnezzar, Chad?
I love Chad.
I want to interview them specifically, and you, who I'm not gonna lie, correct me if I'm wrong, I see you as a libertarian too.
Yeah.
I would like to interview you all, mostly because I see you all as somewhere on that spectrum of libertarianism, as somewhere in that journey. May not be all the way to the level of Larry Sharp, but you're all of different age brackets.
Yeah,
and
Larry Sharp had me on his show. We are not the same level of libertarian, and maybe we never will be. That's fine. But we had a great conversation on stage at the Solutionary Summit, and then we had a great conversation on his show. But yeah, I do hold some more like, I know libertarian isn't strictly right or left, but I definitely consider myself a right libertarian because I hold some very strong views, namely immigration. That's probably the issue I'm the least libertarian on.
That was my one. I was like, wait, I love Joe Jorgensen for everything, like domestic policy. I was like,
fuck no.
90% of her platform I'm good with. But the 10% is like a really big fucking 10%.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, that's immigration, that's foreign trade, and that was national security. I'm like, I'm okay with being non-interventionalist. I'm not okay with being isolationist.
Okay.
I'm okay with reforming the entire immigration system. I think if you're going to become a citizen here, I think maximum is 7 years that it should take you to become a citizen, to establish yourself. And that's from a third world country where there's no record keeping, no infrastructure. Like, I don't know, somewhere where they're speaking Swahili in Africa, where there's no form of government paperwork that can keep up with how you've actually lived your life and whether or not you'd be productive here. 7 years maximum living here in the U.S. through the immigration process for you to be able to prove that you are a valuable citizen to this republic. I think that's fine. Personally, I'm a little bit more extreme. I would shut down immigration into the country for a year, give everybody that is here, the 22 million people minus everyone with a felony conviction that is here illegally, and I give them all green cards. You have legal residency. You can no longer be manipulated within the workforce for working below the minimum wage. You can no longer undercut wages that way and work under the table. You're paying taxes. We know you're here. You're not a national security threat. Hey, you know what? Stay here. You're not going to be rewarded for coming here illegally. With citizenship, you're not going to vote, but you will be here legally. We're not going to deport you. One,
that's interesting.
It's completely impossible to deport 22 million people. You see how many court cases we get over just deporting a single person. It's absolutely insane. I have buddies in Border Patrol, and the stories they tell me are it's impossible to deport 22 million people. Nor would I want to. I think it's a pretty dick move to deport somebody that's been here for 20-something years that has never committed a crime except for come here illegally. So I'm like, you know what? if I didn't know you were here illegally, you'd be a valuable citizen. So I'm going to stick with that, and I'm going to let you stay here. And your kids will be citizens, and they'll be a part of this country, and you've established an entire generation here, and so on and so forth. You've made the country better.
Mm-hmm.
And my issue with making it legal is now corporations cannot hire you under the table, which means they can't undercut the pay scale, which means everybody else that's working in that industry doesn't get fucked by the fact that in Mexico, $2 an hour is a normal wage. Whereas the minimum, I think, in the lowest state in the U.S., that follows the federal minimum is $8 an hour.
In Pennsylvania,
So,
it's $7.25.
Is it? It's $7.25 down there?
Yeah.
I think we just raised it. I mean, our entire House and Senate were all blue up here in New Hampshire in this past election.
Mm-hmm.
Like, went Donald Trump in the federal election, but we went blue in the state election. And we'll never do that again. We learned our lesson. The first thing, everyone was like, oh, yay, we're social issues and freaking butterflies and rainbows and unicorns.
Mm-hmm.
And then we realized that the first thing they tried to do was they did this mass omnibus gun legislation, which thankfully we had a Republican governor that just vetoed. And it reoccurred like literally every 3 weeks for the entirety of the past 2 years since 2018. It's like, oh, well, new gun legislation and vetoed, and new gun legislation and vetoed. And it would, that and income tax. New Hampshire is a tax-free state. No excise tax, no income tax, and no sales tax. So we don't like tax.
So what do they pay tax? What do y'all pay taxes on?
Property.
That's it?
Property taxes fund education. They fund just about everything.
Okay.
And our lack of having taxes honestly drives our entire economy up here.
Do you think having no other taxes? Do you think having no other taxes besides property taxes justifies the fact that the government owns your property?
Nah, I can't really say. It does. If they got rid of property taxes, I mean property taxes entirely, and it was just a sales tax, I'd be willing to accept that.
I'd be willing to accept a sales tax. If we did away with income tax, property tax, I'd be willing to accept a sales tax.
My tax plan, which I actually forwarded to Trump and actually got somebody in the administration actually reached back to me, which was pretty freaking nice. I won't say who, just to put, I don't want to put anybody on blast, but because I'm kind of an unrefined asshole and it might hurt them. However, my thing was, all right, I want to do the biggest tax cut of pretty much all time. 15 per, I think I wrote out 15% corporate tax rate with a 12% 5-year corporate tax rate for any American company relocating their manufacturing back to the United States. And locating that manufacturing within economically distressed communities. I would eliminate the payroll tax, pass the Balanced Budget Act, because I don't believe Congress should be spending more money than we take in. We don't do our budgets like that. Why the hell should they?
That's true.
I think that's absolutely retarded that they cut projected spending. I can project whatever the fuck I want as what we're going to spend this year, and then say I'm going to cut that by 50%, but still overspend 25%.
Right.
That's insane. And I want a 1% sales tax, federal sales tax, and a 10% across the board flat tax. And I was going to keep the $2,500 deduction per kid and $10,000 deduction per adult, applicable to everybody. And if your tax liability evens out, you still owe $1,000. Everybody pays, nobody escapes. There's no loopholes, no exceptions, no corporations that can dot an I here and cross a T there and not have to pay tax. No, everyone pays. No one escapes. It's all equal. Because
So
I think
so Trump paying $750, you don't like that?
no, I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. He exploited the loopholes within the tax system. I'm not going to pretend that I don't exploit the loopholes within the tax system.
That's why I want to know. I'm sick and tired of all those Alyssa Milano, all these Hollywood celebrities acting like they pay hundreds of thousands of dollars with the taxes. You don't.
Yeah.
They don't.
Yeah.
They write off their yachts on their taxes. They don't pay taxes. Like, what are you talking about? Nobody pays taxes. Nobody wants to pay taxes.
Exactly. Nobody wakes up in the morning going, "Oh my God, it's April 15th. Let me sign away 40% of my paycheck." That's bullshit. I don't want to pay taxes. Like, I do everything I can to pay as little taxes as physically possible, and every person in the United States is a conservative when they're on the phone with their damn accountant. So I don't want to hear it. Nobody, I don't care how much money you make, is going, "Please, please, sir, please take my bowl of porridge."
Right. Like, they wake up, like, they act like they wake up and say, "It's a great day to pay my duty to the government." Like, they really... Like, they're like, Donald Trump didn't do his civil duty. Since when is that shit a civil duty? Like,
yeah.
no.
I say the same thing.
Is Donald Trump using a lot of public
right.
transportation or something? Is Donald Trump using a lot of public education, public transportation, public health care? He's not. He's not.
No. He pays for all his own shit. He's not even using the system.
Exactly.
I'm like, shit, he even has to pay off politicians to be able to use the system.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this is bullshit. I'm just gonna say flat out, the people who pretend like they want to pay a ton of taxes are the exact same people. For any military guys in the audience said, "I was going to join the military once, but I would punch a drill instructor in the face," or "I was going to join the military, but they wouldn't accept me because I was awesome," or some stupid shit like that.
I knew so many guys in high school like that.
Yeah, we joke about those guys. We got tons of jokes for those guys that say they would have joined the military, but they would have beat the shit out of a drill instructor for getting in their face. No, you wouldn't. I was
raised by a drill instructor. My dad's a drill instructor. No one's beating the shit out of a drill instructor.
And even if you could, I'm not gonna lie. I've seen tiny little drill instructors with little man syndrome that, like I actually saw a dude. I'm not gonna name him because that would be rude, and I don't want him to find me because he's still a scary little bastard, scary little scrappy Irish bastard. So they don't stay down when you punch them. But he stepped down the line, and he was a brand new drill instructor, and we were like damn near the end of our boot camp, and he was like, "All right," takes off his belt, his hat, and he goes, "Who wants to take a run at the champ?" And this big ass, like 6'3" black guy, friggin' default prison body with chicken legs and massive friggin' shoulders and arms and shit, steps out, and he goes, "Get the fuck back online," and puts his belt and his hat back on and walks away. Now we were all like, yeah. You went to go and measure yourself, and Michael Clark Duncan stepped out on a line to fight you, and you backed off. So I'm not going to say people can't fight a drill instructor, but the problem is, realistically, you'll never fight a drill instructor one-on-one. You'll never fight them one-on-one. They'll never fight you one-on-one. They don't have to. All the other drill instructors will run like a friggin' moth to a flame to come and fight you. I watched it happen. A guy thought he could do it, but that is off topic. I wanted to get back to so where we are at in society right now. Where do you think we go from here? Because it seems like the woke apocalypse is just getting worse.
Well,
it seems like people are getting more and more driven towards the extremes, and it seems like we're talking to each other and grouping each other in with the extremes more than we were before the election, which I thought it was bad before, and now I'm starting to get a little bit worried because now everybody on the right must be a Klansman and everybody on the left must be a socialist. And I think both are diametrically wrong.
Well, one of the worst qualities about the average Trump supporter is that they will retaliate anything that the Democrats have done or said about them. So every one of the Democrats saying, "Not my president, you guys are Nazis, you guys are white supremacists," they're just going to do that back 10 times as hard. So during the Biden presidency, which I guess I have to get used to saying, during the Biden presidency, the only good thing that will happen of that is Republicans actually caring about the national debt, Republicans actually caring about freedom and going back to the small government, because they're not small government when they're in office. They're small government when the Democrats in office, so they can get back into office. So that would be nice to have some opposition to, raising taxes and things like that. However, I think that the MAGA boomers are going to get out of control. I think that they're going to basically become a bunch of little Alyssa Milanos and little triggered Hollywood types, but it's going to be MAGA boomers instead. So they're going to do the not my president thing. They're going to call every Democrat, I don't know, what's the left equivalent of a white supremacist? They're going to call every Democrat a black supremacist. They're going to call everybody that has BLM in their bio, black supremacist, communist, Marxist. They've already started doing the BLM. Marxist, communist. Do you even know what that word means? They love to say the word Marxist. But yeah, they're gonna do that, and it's not gonna be fun. But then again, I'm excited for the new checks that the Republicans will have on the Biden administration, because they won't be able to pass shit if we can get this Senate thing done. So hopefully.
Yeah, when I was talking to Jeff, I asked him basically in another form the same question. I think the biggest thing we could do on the right is libertarian or conservatives. To be honest, I don't understand why, or I'm not going to say I don't understand. I believe the libertarian movement could be better served if they ran an insurgent campaign within the Republican Party. Mm-hmm. I think the difference between a constitutional conservative and a libertarian is nil. I think it's so small and minute that they have no. Those are the people you convert. Those are the populists. Like a populist is somebody that you can convert. A big government crony type, you're not going to be able to convert. The same way I look at establishment types on either side of the aisle is those people that you can't approach. And I look at extremists on both sides of the aisle as people that you can't approach. I think the libertarians could, I think there's a disdain for party structure there that ends up being largely counterproductive to them being able to actually make the big moves that they need to. Despite the fact that as far as more people than ever in our country have identified as independent, and I think they're more open to a third party than ever. But I want to have that libertarian panel, and hopefully you'll join in on it, because I don't think people really flesh out the ideas of libertarianism. I don't think they really know what it is. Now, I don't think they really understand that it's a spectrum. Like there's people who are natural libertarians, and there's people who sort of I'm going to say gold-pilled from the right, and people who gold-pilled from the left, and end up in the space where there's sort of like on far extreme, you got anarcho-libertarian on one side, and you got I don't know, cuddly bears and whatever, Care Bear stare on the other side, and we can all live in a convent together happily and never shave our armpits. I don't know.
Sounds fun. Honestly, that sounds fun. I would do that.
I don't know about the convent. I'm married and I got 3 kids. I don't think my wife would be okay with me leaving for a convent, but
just bring her. Bring the kids. It'll be fine.
God, if I have to bring the kids, I will, but so much effort.
I know.
But so where do you see yourself proceeding in the future?
Right now I'm basically been working in and been involved in basically every facet of like behind the scenes politics, and I like to continue to do that. So, I obviously, I've been on like the more activism side, like public speaking, debating, all that kind of stuff, and the more journalism side, independent journalism, reporting, YouTube, writing articles, being a contributor for like the Daily Caller and Campus Reform and things like that. And then actually working on political campaigns as a minor player, not like I'm a campaign manager or something, but as a minor player, doing phone calls, organizing, booking interviews and things like that. So I like to experiment with what I do. So I haven't decided on like a straight career, but that's why I like, I joke about how I hate being a poli sci major all the time because they're literally annoying and insufferable and just disgusting in general because we all think that we know everything. Like poli sci majors, we all think we're like the smartest person in the room. And it's like to our detriment because we all have a lot to learn still, but I meet so many people that are like, that just believe that they know everything. But it is a really good major to be in because it encompasses a lot of these different jobs, writing about politics, reporting on politics, being in the background of politics, being an actual political candidate. So, I don't know, trying to condense that into one short answer, but I don't know what exactly I want to do or what exactly is in my future. I just know I want to keep trying out different things.
All right. Well, let's explore and narrow it down a little bit. Do you see yourself as an out front person, like when you were on stage at Solutionary Summit? Did you feel comfortable, or do you see yourself as behind the scenes mover and shaker that changes the way people think? Or maybe you're a strategy person and you're a mental chess player.
I definitely had a panic attack before I went on the stage. Just gonna be very transparent about that. But I feel like when I was on the stage, like I kind of like the anxiety kind of melted off because I'm used to public speaking. I'm used to like speaking in front of a lot of people. I just get very nervous a lot. But I don't know, being a talking head kind of turns me off because just the typical talking head is like, I don't know, Tommy Lahren, who has nothing of substance to say, has no ideas or thoughts of her own, is just saying what the viewers want her to say. So I don't want to be anything like that. But if I were to be at the forefront or to be in some type of like public spotlight, I want it to be like I'm saying what I think, not speaking for someone who's funding me, speaking for someone who's rating me, speaking for someone who is flying me out somewhere. Like, I'm not with that. But that's the majority of, political commentators today, So if I were to do something like that, like if I were to be like, I don't know, like on Fox or whatever, I feel like it would be hard to resist being like bought and paid for. But then there are people on Fox who are outliers, like Lawrence B. Jones. He's awesome. He's not like a shill for Fox. He's constantly getting criticized by the MAGA boomers. So I love that. Because if you're getting criticized by the MAGA boomers, you're doing something right. But then if I was to do like more behind the scenes stuff, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's easy to be misrepresented. It's easy to be misrepresented. Like if you're having your ideas and someone else is saying them or they're part of someone else's policy plan, it's easy for things to get lost in translation. So I feel like I would like to be, what I do know, I think I would like to run for office someday, but like very, very far in the future. And so at that point, I'll have a lot of different experiences under my belt from being behind the scenes and being on the forefront of whatever movement there is. And I can actually do change, make changes.
I'm not going to lie. Eventually, I'm going to run for office. I'm not going to say eventually because I definitely have a timeline of when I plan to do it. I'm going to do it in January. I'm going to drop my campaign website, and I'm going to be.
For what office?
New Hampshire's 1st congressional district. Mostly because I got really, really pissed off in this last election. I had Corky Messner and what's his freaking name? It's so unmemorable. It'll come to me later. Oh, Matt Mowers. Both vanilla candidates with really no platform. They ran on Trump's platform and his accomplishments, which I think was a mistake for just about everybody running in this election. If you were not able to differentiate yourself as an individual separate from Donald Trump, you could not be taken as an individual separate from Donald Trump, which means the fate he suffers is the fate you'll suffer. When people associate him, they'll look at you. I think that's a failing strategy. If you can't be seen as an individual, you're not electable in my and both of them really lacked any sort of substance that I could support. To be completely honest, the person I was supporting, he ran as a Republican up here. As a military man, I respect military men, and especially guys that actually do the work, not admin guys. And for any military guys watching this, if you're admin, I'm not taking that back. Just saying. Now, this guy, General Don Bolduc, he was a special forces general in the Army, and my sister's father actually served under his command, and he said he's the type of guy you take a bullet for. And I respect that opinion. And after talking to him online, the one time that I did, I was like, this is a guy that I'd vote for. And a lot of the people in the state were willing to vote for him. But there were a large portion of MAGA folk that were much more willing to vote for whoever Trump backed. And that's what pushed the candidate up here over the edge. And I have a distinct disdain for fanboy politics. I despise it because it leads you to not take each candidate at their individual value and what they bring to the table, but assign a value to them based on whatever fantasy you happen to come up with at the moment. So I'm going to be the biggest asshole that the GOP has ever met.
I'm excited for you. You should let me know when you drop your campaign stuff. I'll come to New Hampshire and knock doors for you.
It will be after the inauguration, no matter who gets inaugurated. And to be honest, I don't even care if I win. I'm just going to make a big enough splash. I'm going to force a different conversation, which is my goal. If I get to represent the people in the state, I'll be the same type of guy I always am. I think there's a difference between a politician and a representative. Representative will take the flack and throw themselves into the fray for the people they represent. A politician will always act in their own best interests, and the people be damned.
Right.
So, and that's one of the reasons I was like, man, this girl is she's on two different campaigns at the same time. That is a solutionary, as Maj Toure would put it. That is a person that thinks on a different level. Let me tell you,
that was ass, though. That was ass, because the whole time I was doing that, I was waiting at tables and going to school.
But you get props for saying yes.
That was so ass. Literally, I was doing the Republican campaign with the GOP. I was doing the libertarian shit. I was waiting tables. I was going to school and going to wrestling practice. I'm pretty sure I have no social life at this point, but it's whatever.
So, I want to break stuff down for a minute and we're right at that hour mark, about an hour and 5 minutes. I want to break it up a little bit. Your wrestling career. I've seen the videos of you throwing dudes to the mat. That is freaking impressive. I'm from, like I said, I'm from New Hampshire. My high school, Timberlane Regional High School, is actually the premier wrestling school in the state. They're perennial state champs, New England champs. Our whole team goes to nationals every year. And then they go, unfortunately, a lot of them go off to college, and it's, you were the big fish in a small pond. Now you're a big fish in a much bigger pond with bigger fish. However, our entire school revolved around wrestling. Being on a football team didn't make you the big dingling in school. It was the wrestling team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they inflated the school budget to turn up the heat during the damn winter so that the wrestlers could run around the damn high school in their sweatsuits and shit, sweating off.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, they were on a different level. I would and we still rock that legacy. So I want to know, but to my knowledge, we never had a female wrestler. So I want to know, what was your experience and how did you get into it, and how are you still kicking people's asses on the college mats?
Well, I'm on a college women's team, so it's a little bit different.
Okay.
But when I started off, I had always been doing martial arts. So I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yellow belt in Krav Maga. So I've been doing martial arts since I was like 4 or 5 years old. So that was kind of a natural progression into wrestling. I didn't want to do basketball, which was like my other winter sport choice. So I was just like, screw it, I'm going to do wrestling. And I told my parents there was a girls' team, which was a lie. So they would sign the sheet so I could bring it back. Yeah, it was rough at first. People, just if you're a freshman on any team, you're going to get hazed. So if you're a freshman and female, it's just going to be 10 times worse at first. But, eventually during that season, I did gain everyone's respect because I wasn't a quitter and I was actually decent. So at some point, they just kind of started, I don't want to say like one of the guys because I'm obviously not a guy, but they treat me as an equal member of the team despite, the difference. And so my sophomore year, I was wrestling varsity matches and things like that. I was winning a lot. I had like a 5 or 6 win streak all against guys. That was like my sophomore year was a great year actually. And then I was recruited to the Olympic development team from there. So I moved to Pennsylvania for a semester or 2 because that's where the, development team was. It was in a boarding school in Pennsylvania. I was like 16 in boarding school. That was ass, let me tell you. But yeah, it was a cool experience, I guess. And I was like winning national championships and things like that. My senior year rolls around. I go to nationals again. I didn't do well the last time, or the big nationals I went to. Then I went to a smaller nationals a couple months later, and then I won that. So I was like, okay, I'm getting back into it. Then I get signed to my school. I go to school. Then I was having some health issues like mid-season, so I had to go home. I took a semester off. Then I come back. I'm like, I'm ready to go this year. Then COVID just canceled my season this past week. So we got the news literally like a week ago that my season was canceled. So I'm still, I feel like not at like my full potential because I'm like obsessed with being like a college national champion. That's like my dream, because I was like high school national champion so many times, high school state champion so many times. I'm like, I want to take it to the next level. And then COVID ruined that. So I still kept my eligibility so I can still wrestle for like, I think 3 more years. So that's okay. But yeah, that kind of broke my heart that we couldn't actually compete this year.
Well, you know what? I am a major martial arts fan. I grew up learning martial arts. I started learning when I was like 5 years old. First Taekwondo and Wing Chun. My dad wanted me to learn something.
I low-key wanted to try that so much when I was a kid. It looked so cool to me.
Well, my dad wanted me to learn. We learned from we learned from like an old school before MMA had became a big thing. So I learned all my martial arts experience classically, and my father had wanted me to learn something both aggressive and passive at the same time. So he wanted me to have something that would temper my natural desire of a young boy to go out and get into shit by also giving me something else. So I learned each more, and I'm not going to say more technically aggressive, but more assertive martial art with something more passive and defensive. So I learned like Taekwondo, Wing Chun, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, and boxing. And then, of course, in Marine Corps, the martial art is MCMAP, which Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, which is honestly a combination of about 6 or 7 different martial arts, and it's good. It's good to have well-rounded. And I learned each one classically. I had no desire to, like, I didn't care about the belt, but I cared more about the knowledge. And I'm like, and same way with the way I read books. I read books for the acquisition of knowledge. I went to school for the acquisition of knowledge. I could give two shits about the degree. And same goes to martial arts. So if you go to a national championship, and you hit that level and you're going to be on the mat to accomplish your dreams, I will be there in the audience to embarrass you and scream loud and obnoxiously. And I will drag Sonny Johnson and Felicia Killings there. And we will be obnoxious.
That would actually be so awesome. And this is not me tooting my own horn or anything. Like, this is something that I actually believe I can accomplish because I was on the Olympic development team. I've won nationals 3 times before. I'm a 6-time All-American, 3-time state champion. So this is just the next level. My coach, who's actually an Olympian, believes I can do it. He went to the Olympics, I think, twice. But it just
Wait a minute. Who's your coach?
He's Puerto Rican, so you might not know him. His name is Aníbal Nieves. But I've had a lot of current Olympic coaches too. Like, I don't know if you follow women's Olympic wrestling at all. But Adeline Gray, she was the heavyweight women's wrestler in 2016. She's coached me before. She was actually my coach in the Olympic development team. So I've had really high level training and things like that.
Okay. I am actually looking up your coach right now because it sounds ridiculously familiar. And I can't let the wow, he comes up immediately.
Yeah, can you tell me how many times he went to the Olympics? Because I forgot. Was it just once?
92 and 96 in the Summer Olympics and the Pan American. He also won twice a silver medal in the Pan American Games.
Yeah, so he's legit. He's crazy. He's a really good wrestler.
Yeah.
And
he's exactly who I thought he was.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I had a guy in my unit named Nieves, and he said he was named after him.
Wow. But yeah, he's actually an alumni of ESU, which is where I go. So he came to the U.S., went to school here at ESU, then went and competed for Puerto Rico. So I think he's cool as fuck, and he really believes in me. Thinks I can go to the fucking Olympics and shit. So I'm inclined to believe him because he actually did it. So
hey, you know what? Believe the people that believe in you. I've had better luck. Honestly, I was not intending to get into politics. I just did it for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually start to lean into it until people like David Webb and George Farrell, the founder of the
David Webb.
Yeah, I call into his show on a regular basis.
Really?
He is supposed to be coming up here to New Hampshire soon, and we're going to take a ride in my classic car that I'm currently building, and we're going to drink some bourbon and smoke cigars.
That is awesome.
More than welcome. You are more than welcome. I will have a glass of bourbon and a cigar for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah,
when? When he messages me and tells me he has got a plan to come up here. Everything that he normally comes up here during summer.
Okay.
This is before I started becoming a regular caller and everything. And like me, he's a Marine and he's a classic car junkie, and he likes cigars and bourbon, and I'm like a bourbon junkie. I actually just got 2 new bottles from the New Hampshire State Liquor Store, which is also very weird in a live free or die state that we have a state liquor store.
Literally. Do y'all have the ABC stores up there?
No, all liquor stores are New Hampshire State liquor stores.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not sure why they did that. I've been meaning to look into it because I have some issues with that.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of issues of the state owning the alcohol supply.
Yeah, like honestly, I think it's one of the few things we actually tax up here. We also have a prepared meal tax. So we tax not groceries that you buy from the store, but we have a prepared meal. So if you go out to eat,
Oh, okay. By prepared meal, I thought you meant like microwave. Like you can't. Okay, I was like
no.
confused. I was like, you get taxed on Lunchables, like that's prepared, right?
But at the same time, like when I left California, when I was out in California, actually wanted to open a bar, and there was a bar out there. As a matter of fact, last time I looked online, it was still out there for sale, which tells you how bad the friggin' market is out there in California.
Mm-hmm.
And the worst part is, it's in a prime location. It's in it was in Old Town, Temecula, California, which is right in Aegis Smith's district. I talked to her; she's awesome, and
Oh, okay.
like I would have, if I was still in California, I'd vote for her in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But it was a beautiful bar right in Old Town, Temecula, California. Unfortunately, it looks like nobody's willing to buy it, and the owner wants to move the hell out of California. So I kind of feel bad. But
Yeah.
New Hampshire is one of those states where, like, getting a liquor license, if I remember correctly, it's like $2,500.
Really?
By comparison to California, which last time I checked the liquor licenses, they get up into the like $100,000.
No, yeah, it's like six figures. I've actually, I don't know why, but I've for something for school, I actually had to research like, because I was like doing this whole project about how it's basically pretty unethical and unconstitutional for the government to basically require you to pay for a license just so you can do whatever you want. So I was like looking up like different licenses, like liquor licenses, business licenses, food service licenses, cosmetology licenses, like in all these different states, and it's fucking outrageous.
I agree. I am in complete agreement. I don't think you should have to have a license to cut hair. You're either good at cutting hair or you're not, and people will pay you to do it or they won't. You're good at braiding hair or you're not, and people will pay you to do it or they won't. I don't think that it should be like, you know what? I could even moderate my own skepticism of government for like I don't know, mechanical repair, like owning an auto shop, where it's like, you have to have the basic knowledge. Not that you have to graduate in automotive school, but that you served an apprenticeship, whatever, I don't know, pass a fucking written test that friggin' you could get anywhere in the state at the DMV.
But you shouldn't have to pay for it.
No,
right?
I don't think you have to pay for it. I think that's a money racket. I think that's racketeering.
Yeah, once when I pay someone to do my hair, am I looking on their wall for a certificate that said you paid the government so you can have this store? I'm just like, can you show me a picture of your work? You know, like, can I look at the Yelp review? Like some shit like that.
I used to cut hair when I was active duty. I swear. It would be a regular thing for guys to not get their damn hair cut all weekend long because they're out trying to pick up girls or having fun at the beach or just drunk the whole damn weekend, because that's what Marines do, is just drink. And then they come to my room on Monday morning at like 3 a.m. and they're like, hey, can you cut my hair? And I'll pay you $20 to cut my hair. Hell, 1 month I made like $1,700 cutting the hair.
Yeah.
I ended up getting my ass chewed because I was late for formation multiple times, but I made like $1,700 cutting hair in a single month. I didn't have a freaking license.
Right.
Sergeant Major, I'm out of the Marine Corps. You can't come after me. So. But
yeah, I break people's hair all the time. Like the same shit. I'm sorry?
I don't see why there's a license for that. You either have the talent or you don't.
It's a racket, like you said. It's a racket.
It's not going to ruin people's day that you made their hair look like shit, and they're not going to die from it. Mm-hmm. Like if your argument for having a license was, oh well, if you screw up, it could actually kill somebody. You know what? I can
like
actually,
a surgeon, like a surgeon. I understand, like if you're a doctor or some shit.
like a surgeon, or if you're a friggin' auto mechanic where you're like, you put this engine back together wrong, might blow up. That's like a big deal if your car blows up in the middle of the highway. I can understand that. Or you fuck up somebody's brakes and their brakes all of a sudden engage at 80 miles an hour in the middle of the freeway. I can understand that. But a license for like to be a beautician. Last time I checked, you couldn't kill somebody by putting lipstick on them.
No.
So
and like people make the argument that like, oh, it's about sanitation. Like you have to make sure, you know, a hairdresser, they can't have like dirty scissors or like dirty chair, dirty equipment. Again, why am I paying to get licensed for that?
Yeah.
It's to open my business. Why am I paying for that?
Hell, if you want to make a bad choice and go to a dirty ass tattoo artist or a dirty ass beautician,
read the reviews.
That's your problem. Hey, government can't fix stupid. I mean, what was it? California actually just had to have legislation for Tide Pods. Like,
oh my god! Like if a kid wants to eat a Tide Pod.
No, teenagers were eating Tide Pods.
That was fake, yo. That wasn't my generation. That was like one person on Twitter, and then everyone just decided it was a fun little gag, and all the boomers fell for it. No one was eating Tide Pods.
No, it was more than one, but it was a gag, and it was hilarious. And hey, you know what? There's that stupid guy in every group that's going to do something dumb. I mean, we used to invite that guy to parties, and we knew that he was going to do something stupid, like, I don't know, in a game of Beirut or beer pong, depending on where you live, they would try to jump across the table and dunk a damn beer pong ball, and they would smash into the table or face plant on the floor. It's hilarious, but you know what? People do stupid shit. If a teenager wants to eat a Tide Pod, well, you know what? If you think a Tide Pod looks as appetizing as a Snickers bar, you deserve whatever you get. I don't think there should be. At that point, I'm like, you know what? Let's go pure Darwin with this and let people get whatever they deserve. Like, if you want to ghost ride the whip and you want to hop out of your car while it's driving, hey, you know what? Hopping out of a moving car, I've done it. I've even done it for training. It's not fun. You want to try that shit? Go ahead. You dislocate your arm, or you break your neck, or you break your leg. Yeah, the video, the doing it for the Vine ain't gonna be great.
Okay, you're showing your age here because Vine has been dead for like 6 years.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying I don't know what to, or friggin', I guess it'd be doing it for the gram now. I don't use Instagram.
Do it for the TikTok is what the kids do these days.
I'm fine. You know, everything on TikTok is about booty shaking.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't get it. It's like every girl. I used to joke about this when I was in high school. It's like everybody went from it. If you had boobs, you were the popular girl in school, and now you have butt, and you're the popular girl in school. And every girl that has a butt is on TikTok doing weird. I can't even call them dances because they're not in rhythm, they're not in time, and they look incredibly awkward, and they don't even look like they're having fun doing it. They look like they're incredibly unsure. It's like watching Kristen Cook act. It's like so disturbing. It's weird.
Yeah. I, for one, fully support the transition from boob girls being popular to butt girls being popular because I never had boobs in high school, so that's fine. I don't support the weird dancing though, and it does look very awkward. It's kind of funny to watch though. It's kind of hilarious. I don't understand the people that like are like literally like attracted to it, like they think it's like hot or like cute. Like I don't understand that. I kind of thought it was a gag. But then, like, I'm, like, reading the comments, like, everyone's like, oh, my God, that's awesome, that's amazing. I'm like, I thought this was a joke. So
finding out that people actually take that shit seriously has really lowered my expectations for society at this point. Like, the fact that people take TikToks seriously, has really
Yeah.
disappointed me.
There's
I'm
like TikTok
dude,
celebrities now. There's like TikToks with like 100 million followers. Like, why do that many people care?
well, I'm having issues with this because I'm like, all right, first it was the Vine, then it was Instagram, now it's TikTok, and now it's OnlyFans. How much further do we go with this? Can we get back to reality where, like, I don't know, we actually talk to each other?
No.
Like, we actually have conversations?
No, I'm actually scared for the future because I just like, even I'll notice myself increasingly be on social media more and more and more. And I wasn't born during the social media age. I was born before like smartphones and stuff. Surprisingly, I am old enough to remember a time before smartphones. Anyways, but there's gonna be this whole new generation that's born after the whole like TikTok, Instagram, social media influencer phase where everyone's crazy, everyone's getting lip injections, everyone's getting fake tans, everyone wants to look exactly the same. I don't think that'll bode well for the future generations. I think it'll be crazy.
I think it creates unrealistic expectations for how we're supposed to live life. Like,
Hmm.
just in general, people that always have perfect tans and always have filters on and stuff like that, always have makeup on. I'm like, girl, you swimming. We all know you have a weave. You don't got to pretend that you don't got it on. Just be you. Just be you. Or, hey, you know what? You don't have to contort your body into a weird shape to be able to take a picture of your butt. It's okay. We know you have no butt. Just get over it.
It's all right.
Yeah. Like, you don't have to put some weird filter on your face so that we see you have no blemishes. That's not real. That's like, to be honest, I think every tiny little imperfection of every woman is what makes women individually beautiful. If your woman looks the same as every other woman, you don't have anything unique. No woman
Right.
is
When everyone's
is
beautiful,
different than the
nobody's
other.
beautiful. You know, when
Exactly.
everyone looks exactly the same, no one stands out, no one's unique. And like even like the more time I spend on social media, I feel like the more insecure I get about myself. And like I go out into the world, I don't think I'm like ugly like in like compared to people in the real world, but like on social media I like definitely feel that way. I find myself being like, maybe I should get that nose job I've been wanting. Like I'm like, wait, like I need to like delete Instagram. But low key, my nose is like a huge insecurity, and like the more time I like spend on Instagram, the more I'm like, I want a nose job, so I need to like delete that.
Really?
ASAP. Yeah.
You're all right. First off, your facial structure is gorgeous. And
Not my nose, yo. Not my nose.
no, your nose fits your face. Like, I have a big nose. My dad is Italian. He's got a massive schnoz.
It's not the size though. I'm cool. This like dad has a big nose. We all have big noses. It's like the shape, and also it's crooked. I don't know if it's probably not apparent to other people, but like I see my nose is very very crooked, and I've also like felt very self conscious of it being like really pointy. Like from the side, it's like really pointy. I don't know, but I hate it.
All right. I'm just going to throw out there the amount of people whose faces are completely symmetrical is so fucking rare that they're all goddamn famous. They're all
That is
famous.
true.
Like Denzel
but when you're
is
on
not
social media,
gorgeous
but when you're on
because-
social media, you see all these famous people with symmetrical faces. So then I'm like, oh my god, I need a symmetrical face.
But it's not even. It's like our perception of reality. It's not even that reality is what we see online. It is what we perceive because we're saturated with a certain mentality. That's like when I talk to conservatives, they're like, "Oh my God, the world is crashing and burning." I'm like, "It's not crashing and burning. We're all doing just fine. When you walk out of your house and you get off the computer and you put your phone down." Do people honestly put on a black hoodie and smash you with a baseball bat? Or do you walk into the ice cream shop and people are like, "Hi, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I mean, other than the Karens, because Karens are evil across the board. I don't think
Awful.
anybody will name Karen for a whole decade. You should all be banned. That's the one dictatorial thing that I would agree with is Karen should be banned. All of
My
them.
mom's name is Karen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But
she's really nice though. She thinks the whole Karen joke is funny because she like when I first saw the meme, like I guess a year ago is when the whole Karen thing started. I sent it to her and she was like, "That's so funny," because I'm like not a Karen. So she thinks she's the one Karen that's not a real Karen.
That's good though.
But she calls other people Karen. She calls other people Karen if they're behaving like one.
But that means she's got a sense of humor. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's not
sense
triggered
of
by
humor
it.
That's what's gonna keep us alive in 2020.
Yeah, I called someone a Karen like a few months ago on Twitter, and they like told me I was like a racist because it was a slur against white women. I was like, "Would you like to speak to my mother, a white woman named Karen, about it?" Like
now,
it's ridiculous.
see, that's a dynamic that I'm biracial too. My dad is a big, huge, like 6'3" Italian guy. He's Italian Irish. He actually looks like Sean Connery. I don't know if you know what present day Sean Connery looks. Well, actually, Sean Connery is dead. Rest in peace.
I was about to
James.
say, I was like, I feel like he's not around, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, John Connery just died, which prompted me to immediately check in on Betty White to make sure she was alive. But
he still is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the day that Betty White goes is the day I go. So,
dude, if Betty White goes in 2020, like she has to make it to 2021. If she makes it to 2021, I can forgive it. I can be like, you know, like, it's a whole nother year. 2020 didn't take her out.
Oh my God! I just got this public safety alert. Hold up. I just got this public safety alert. That's protect your family. Wear a mask at Thanksgiving. It's like from the government.
Hold up. My phone just vibrated too. I'm about to check it. Because if you just got that and
it says it's from Maryland state government.
We're begging you please to wear a face mask during Thanksgiving and to social distance from family members that may not have been social distancing during the rest of the year. Please stay safe and stay calm and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
This is crazy.
What the fuck?
The government literally just sent a mass text to everyone. You're in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
This is insane.
Which I'm not gonna lie. I have issues with the governor right now. Like, we have a Republican governor. We have a Republican state house, a Republican executive council, and a Republican Senate. We have the largest deliberative body in the United States behind the obviously the federal House of Representatives and Senate. And we have one of the largest in the world, which is part of the reason why New Hampshire flips back and forth red and blue each election. However,
right.
This dude is starting to act like the Massachusetts governor. He's like, hey, Chris Sununu is like, we're going to put a curfew here, and we're going to we're going to ban out of state visitors and stuff like that. And I'm like, you don't have the power to do that.
Right.
And I'm what's classified as an essential worker. However, my dad owns a commercial cleaning company, so the pandemic has actually been very productive for us. I will not go back to the office to get the paperwork just so I can travel. You will not ask me, let me see your papers.
No,
I'm not going to
do it. That's some fascist bullshit. And my governor's doing the same shit. Hogan's a Republican, but he acts like a fucking libtard. So I can't believe I just said libtard ironically. But
you're actually a Maryland resident?
Yes.
How do you deal with that? because he is like supposedly for a Republican. I have issues with Chris Sununu, not because he's not conservative, but because he let his conservatism slide for the pandemic, in which I'm like, if you followed basic leadership principles, you should be able to lead and not be a dictator. How do you deal with Governor Hogan?
Well, fortunately, aside from like the first wave of like initial scare, no one leaving their house, I haven't been in Maryland that much. I was in Missouri all summer, and then I've been in Pennsylvania for school, so I've had to deal with it firsthand very much. But he is just a virtue signaling idiot at this point. The fact that he wrote in Ronald Reagan. Did you see that? He wrote in Ronald Reagan when he voted.
Really?
Yes, my governor wrote in Ronald Reagan. Because his whole thing was he wanted to bring civility and authority back into the White House. He's tired of Donald Trump. Like, okay. You think Donald Trump's a big white supremacist, so you voted for the guy that poured crack into black communities and disregarded the entire AIDS epidemic. Thank you so much, Larry Hogan, for your virtue signaling. Anyways, and it was like a day or two ago where he literally said this shit. He was like, there's nothing in the Constitution that says we cannot put a national mask mandate. There's also nothing in the Constitution that says that we can't force everyone to wear red clown noses, but that would still be unconstitutional if you force people to wear shit.
Last time I checked, all powers not delegated explicitly to the federal government are reserved solely in perpetuity to the states. However, all states are guaranteed a Republican form of government. The federal nor state executive has the power to institute a mask mandate.
Dude, I'm living in liberal hellhole controlled by a Republican.
We had, what was it, the 17th Amendment that made
Something
everything
like
applicable to the, I think, if I remember correctly, is the 17th Amendment that made everything applicable to the federal government in regard to restrictions on the federal government apply to the states, which means all states are not only guaranteed a state Republican form of government, but they're also guaranteed the same restrictions on what those individual branches of government can do. So state governments cannot act like a dictator, which is why I say, Chris Sununu, let your cops, let your staties pull me over. I guarantee it will not be a fucking good day. I'll fall out of the car and I will cry like Rodney King. It's 2020. You know somebody's got a cell phone.
Just start screaming Black Lives Matter and something will happen.
But in general, so my governor apparently is aspiring to be the next dictator in the state, and your governor apparently is aspiring to be the next dictator. Where do you think we go? What do you think we do? I mean, we can't run away. We can't go to another state because eventually it'll just follow us there, or they'll gain enough power that eventually the state we run to will just be negated. So what do you think we do?
We need to make noise, and I've been making noise about Hogan. I've been calling him out for ages, and people are like, no, support your fellow Republicans. Like, first of all, he's not my fellow anything because I'm not a Republican, but people are like, support your fellow this. No infighting, no conservative infighting. Fuck that. I'm going to infight with everybody who's standing in the way of liberty. I don't care if it's infighting, outfighting, whatever type of fighting. We have to make noise about it and vote these people out. And I feel like after the lockdowns, I really feel like there's going to be a resurgence of people who are supporting more liberty-minded candidates. And that could possibly be because of the fact that because of a Biden presidency, people are really going to start checking government spending and checking government overreach because they didn't really pay attention when Republicans did it. Now they're just going to be checking all of it because it's going to be a Democrat at the top and all these, neoconservative Republican governors, neoliberal Republican governors like Hogan, they're going to be voted out because people are actually going to start checking for that shit.
Now, that brings me on to my next question, because there's something that people with forethought like you and people with enough knowledge can understand is there are Republicans like Democrats who rock the D or rock the R but aren't necessarily liberal or conservative in either form.
Right.
Example would be Mitt Romney. Now, I say, as a conservative, I would like to define rhinos and define, I'm going to say dinos, just because I don't feel like putting the effort into figuring out something much more interesting. For the Democratic Party, I view Romney as a rhino. This is not a guy who is actually conservative. He just trends conservative on certain issues that benefit him, and he's liberal on issues that allow him to retain his stature in society. Now, I view Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy and now presently Dan Crenshaw. I like your personality. Hey, dude, we can have a beer. I'm a Marine. You're a Navy SEAL. There's a natural alliance there. Besides the fact that I can drink more than you. That's guaranteed. And Ted Cruz, even. But there's many people like Susan Collins up here in Maine and Chris Sununu. There's many rhino Republicans that are Republican, but don't necessarily adhere to all of the principles. They may be 60-40, 80-20, 75-25, whatever it may be. And who would you name that you see as Republicans that don't actually necessarily adhere to the principles? Same with Democrats. I want your input as somebody who technically is not represented party-wise in the conglomerate corporate system that we have right now.
My favorite Democrat who appears to be very liberal these days, but was very authoritarian, very quote-unquote conservative, what we think of as a stereotypical racist Republican, was Mike Bloomberg. I mean, the king of stop and frisk, completely ruining New York City. Basically, the whole justification for stop and... Wow, you're doing a whole maneuver there. The whole justification for stop and frisk was really racist, and now, of course, he ran under the Democrat ticket, of course, but he's kind of parading around like he's some social justice warrior. Like he's always been the one for Black people. He's always been the one for the Latino community. Always been the one for poor people and all that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, he ran New York City like a fucking dictatorship. So he's my favorite one. I guess I would love to call it Dino because, you know, Democrats are classically supposed to be liberal in the sense of the word, that would more align with more left libertarian ideals rather than socialist ideals. However, he is kind of a statist, actually absolutely a statist, and I mean ran that shit like an authoritarian government. So he was my favorite Dino.
Do you see any others that might have been on stage that you would consider a Dino, a Democrat name only, or someone that doesn't necessarily? I'm going to divide. I'm going to say Democrat, not liberal, because I see the two as different. I see liberals as voters. I see Democrats as party establishment, and I see activists as leftists.
Okay, this has to be my last point though, because I do have to go because it's almost 2 hours. I'm sorry.
All right.
But I will say that, let me think. Who else was a Dino on that stage? Does it have to be negative? Because I feel like Tulsi is Democrat in name only, but I view that as a positive thing for her because she's very anti-war. On social policy, she for sure is a Democrat. In economics as well, but she's not a warmonger, and that's not strictly a Democrat or Republican thing. It's just an establishment thing. So she definitely didn't fit in there. And then even when she was that whole impeachment thing was going on, I'm pretty sure she voted present. She didn't vote for or against impeachment, which I
Yeah.
thought was interesting because everyone was mad at her. Republicans were mad at her, Democrats were mad at her, and she was standing there like, I'm above this. You know, our goal is to end the war. Our goal is to bring these troops home. I respect that.
She is the only Democrat on that stage I would have actually considered voting for.
I liked Yang.
She,
He has some
she,
points.
I liked Yang. Where he lost me was UBI without getting rid of all the current government programs.
Yeah.
When I read Milton Friedman's justification for UBI, it dealt with getting rid of all the government programs that currently exist and instituting UBI in its place. Yang did the exact opposite. He's like, we're going to add it on top of all the government programs, which I saw being an issue because I don't think government programs actually make you independent. I think they make you subservient.
Yeah.
So,
No. Yeah. I no, for sure I did not like that plan, but what I thought was interesting about Yang was that he was actually talking about shit that no one else was talking about. He was talking about innovation. He was talking about AI. You know, he was talking about big tech and shit like that. Like no one else, that was not anyone else's like ballpark. No one was touching that shit. And he was talking about like robots and stuff. Like I just thought that was cool.
He's a forward-thinking guy that I'm not gonna lie, I would like to talk to him.
Yeah.
Because like when you're talking solutions, you need to talk to people that don't think like everybody else, which brings me to the next topic. What do you think, right before we go, because I know it's getting there, what do you think is what we need in this next cycle as far as solutions? Because I see it as far as getting as far as we have in this election cycle, it took somebody who is completely abnormal to the political structure. I think Donald Trump, as much as people hate him or they love him, he was a wrecking ball, which is exactly what I wanted. What do you think we need in this next election cycle?
We need someone who is not as much of a wrecking ball as more of a radical change maker, because you can make extreme and positive change without insulting everyone on your way in, hiring and firing 15 different people, you know, just burning all these bridges and almost making a fool out of yourself in some sense, especially with all the Twitter shit. But I think we do need someone that makes radical change. We need someone to be in there like, we're going to legalize weed and we're going to let everyone out of jail that's in there for a possession crime of all drugs. Like, we need someone who is going to just be like, I'm not going to wait for the boomers to die off and then we can have this big radical, you know, war on drug laws change. Like, we need to do this shit now because people are sitting and rotting in jail. We need to, and someone that, you know, actually takes the whole anti-tax argument seriously, because I feel like Republicans are so like, let's lower taxes until they get into fucking office and don't do shit about it. So we need someone to actually do what they say they're going to do and make radical change with the tax plan, the tax formula. So there's a lot of things that I feel like people just haven't had the courage to touch on. And so I don't think we need another Donald Trump, but we do need a rule breaker for sure. Just someone who has a little bit more poise.
Now, final question before we end out tonight. Do you see anyone in the political landscape right now, whether it be punditry, celebrity, or I guess political aristocracy, that would fit that bill of somebody that would break the rules, get the job done, and mic drop on the way out?
Massey. I love him.
Thomas Massey?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, I was going to say, I like Thomas Massey in many ways. How do you compare him to Ron Paul? I'm sorry, Rand Paul, not Ron Paul.
I feel like
You-
the reason I said Massey over Rand was just because I know about him more. I am a Rand fan. And let's be real, his dad basically founded the modern liberty movement. So I'll give them
Yeah.
that whole Paul family some credit here. The reason I say Massey is he's a very charismatic guy. Like I follow him on Twitter and I see all his stuff. Like he actually, I don't know, he makes a lot of sense to me in a fun way. And he also lives as he says he does. He lives completely off the grid. He has his little homestead, little farm, solar panels, all that kind of stuff. Like, that's kind of a libertarian dream of mine. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just a big fan all around.
I'm not gonna lie. I have a 3,000 square foot house. It was built in like 1930 something, and it's up here in New Hampshire on like 3 acres. And to be honest, I thought this was enough land. I want more land. I want to be left alone, and I want to be off
Yeah.
in the woods somewhere where I can shoot a bear on my property and no one gives a shit. I mean, to be honest, I shoot my gun on my property and no one cares up here. I would like to move more conservative black people up here so they can experience what true conservatism looks like. Because to be completely honest, the flip flop back and forth has created a very live free or die, both social and economic atmosphere up here, where we're constitutional carry, no taxes, and we kind of top damn near every demographic. I think USA Today did the last survey. We come in like number 1 for K through 12 education. We came in like I think it was number 1 or number 2 for crime. I mean overall crime, and I think we came in number 1 for gun crime. And it was just an economic opportunity. I think we came in number 1 too. And small business opportunity, I think we came number 1. So I'm like, shit. Everybody wants to do good. Move up to New Hampshire. If you're a capitalist, let's all get rich.
I heard there's a big push of libertarians moving there, right?
There's actually a movement. Somebody actually messaged me.
I forgot what it was called. Someone told me about it. I forgot what it was called. But there's like this whole group of libertarians like moving up there to start their homestead or whatever.
I think it was Liberty New Hampshire movement or something like that. One of the guys actually contacted me online just because he wanted to see if I was moving up here or if I was already a resident or whatever. And he's like, "Wow, you're already a resident here. You should join this movement and you should help push us forward." I'm like, "Well, what is it?" He's like, "Well, we want more liberty-minded people up here because we have a mass influx from Vermont, which is being socialists, and Maine, which aren't necessarily socialists. They're just they are more friendly towards taxes than we are. We don't like taxes here." And then you get Massachusetts where they're like, ban guns and every liberal agenda physically obtainable. Let's move in New Hampshire and make it happen. To which I say, you move to New Hampshire because you like New Hampshire. Don't mass it up.
Right. That's funny.
But it was great talking to you. You are extremely intelligent, and I can't wait to see what you do in the future. Is there any hope that we might actually hold out for a candidate, Olivia Rondeau?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe within the next 2 years, maybe 2022?
No.
No?
Absolutely
right,
not.
wait.
No.
Hold up. Give me some hope. 2024?
I don't even graduate until 2023.
There was hesitation there. I'm going to take 2024.
Okay, maybe.
All right. All right. Alex Trebek, rest in peace. What is 2024 for 500? Um, I really hope you do, because you know what? Even if you run as an independent, you run as a conservative, I don't care. You would definitely get my vote.
Thank you. Maybe I'll move to New Hampshire and like be part of the Liberty New Hampshire movement or whatever.
We need more liberty-minded people up here that can make the cultural and intellectual argument, because that is something. I'm on the New Hampshire GOP page, and that is something that people are lacking, not because they don't want to hear it, but because they lack the first-hand experience.
Mm-hmm.
But that will change through interaction with people like you.
Oh, well, that sounds awesome. Okay, maybe I'll think about it. I do have an affinity for Maryland, though, even though I hate it here. I feel very passionate
Maryland.
about local politics here. Yeah.
Oh, is it because the dynamics is so close to DC and it's so heated? Like, I'm not gonna lie, there's something about being in the middle of the fight that is very romantic.
Yeah, I like being in the DC area. It's a cool city, even without the politics and shit. And I do a lot of activism work in DC unrelated to politics. So, I don't know, just the DMV area in general. It's my home. I was born and raised here, so, whatever.
Oh, you were born and raised there.
Hmm.
Oh, well, you know what? I can't have anything against that.
Yeah, I was born in Silver Spring, Maryland. It's right outside DC.
I was actually born on a military base in England, raised
really?
in Dayton, Ohio, and then moved to New Hampshire with my father later in life for middle school and high school.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have very little memories of England, but it's a beautiful country. From what I remember. As far as Dayton, Ohio, I love Dayton.
Yeah?
I love Dayton. If it weren't for the damn taxes and shit, I would move back in a heartbeat. I love the music. I love the soul. I love the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I love how you could have a 150-person friggin' family get-together cookout in the middle of a damn park, and they would welcome everybody in the park in. I absolutely love it.
That's nice.
But I don't want to keep you. I don't want to keep you too long. I know it's vacation time. You got to get to your family. I want to thank you for coming on. I hope we have you back in the future.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully soon we'll have candidate Olivia Rondeau, and I will most definitely see you at the next Solutionary Summit. I will be there 100%.
And you're going to talk to me and Sharice, right?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Most definitely. My little brother actually has a crush on you and Sharice.
Oh, both of us?
Yeah, he just turned 21. He actually has a crush on both of you guys. He's like, he watched the video at this Solutionary Summit, and he was like, "Who the hell are they?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna have one of them on my podcast on Wednesday," and he's like, "I'm gonna watch that shit." He's like, "I'm gonna watch that shit." He's like, "I like her hair, and I like her light skin, and she's got a beautiful smile." And then he saw the video of Sharice dancing and goofing around and shit, and he's like, "Man, she's beautiful too." I'm gonna have to do some reconnaissance on these girls, because they look intelligent and they look smart, and he's a pragmatic red pill type of guy. Doesn't quite have the intellectual side of conservatism, but as far
Wait,
as...
why are you ragging on your brother like that?
Hey. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I love my little brother, but I'm gonna say he hasn't done all the reading yet. But as far as pragmatic conservatism, he lives the life.
Okay. Well,
he's
I will
actually
say this:
considering a military life.
Sharice is single, ready to mingle. So I think she's 21. So y'all should link up.
I will send my little brother for her way. He is currently a little scared of Twitter because he sees the shit that goes on here and he sees the shit that y'all go through and
Yeah,
the shit that I go through, and he's like, people get a little personal on Twitter.
Yeah, it's a little crazy sometimes.
But I want you to stay safe. God bless. You have a good night. And once again, hey, keep doing what you're doing. I'm a big supporter, and I will help you out any way you can. Any way I can.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. You have a good night.
You too.
All right. For everybody, that was the third episode of Blue Collar Intellectual Podcast. As you can see, we had Olivia Rondeau on. She's absolutely fantastic in every way, shape, and form. I can't wait. The next episode, we will have Pod Wasted of the Wasted Time podcast. Jonesy will be on. He was watching tonight and can't wait to have him on. You guys have a fantastic night. Stay frosty.
And what kind of player am I? Am I an offensive man or a defensive man? That's right, I'm neither. I play my opponent. If he likes to attack, I force him to defend himself. If he's a cautious man, I draw him into dangerous water. See, you get so frustrated playing defensive positions, you make stupid moves you never make if you were thinking. When you come here, boy, check that shit at the door.
I'm at the top of my game, cut the check. Somebody better king me, I'm the best. Let's play a game of checkers. Better yet, the game don't love nobody. Let's play chess.